had a pretty long career. What was the biggest but worst Hollywood meeting you've ever had? Because we've all had horrible Hollywood meetings. So what was the biggest one you were excited to walk into, and then you're just like, damn, that sucked?
Okay. So Brian Grazer, who obviously the other producing half with Ron Howard.
Mm-hmm.
Grazer and Howard, they were producing every huge movie ever made for like 20 years, right? And somewhere in the middle of that, I got the word when I was pretty new to show business. I'd probably been doing Loveline for about 10 minutes. And I got the word that Brian Grazer wanted to meet with me. He wanted a meeting with me. And I was like, oh, wonder what Brian Grazer went. He's a huge producer. And I'm just doing like Loveline, maybe on MTV at that point. So I go down to their office in Century City, and I go up to the 25th floor, and sit in this big monastic office with the windows and everything. And also, like at some point, Ron Howard like comes in, and Brian's like, "Hey, it's Adam. All right, thanks, Ron." I was like, "That's Ron Howard." And we talk for like an hour and a half, and then I go back like I'm floating on air. Like, what does Brian Grazer have in mind for me? And I never hear back from him. I never hear another word. I never hear anything. Nothing ever comes of it. And probably about 15 years later, I'm interviewing him on my podcast. I go, "Hey, remember that meeting we had? Like, what was that about?" Well, he'd written a book that basically just said he finds people he likes and he has meetings with them, and he just talks to them for an hour and then never talks to them again. And I'm like, I was kind of flattered that he liked me enough to want to have this meeting with me, but you're Brian Grazer. You have to say this is not going to materialize in any kind of theatrical career for you whatsoever, and I have zero interest in putting you in our next project. I just like talking to people because I'm crazy, and I know my name's Brian Grazer. They'll come to my office.
Oh, that sucks. I
Yeah,
mean,
so
like you said, it's flattering, but shit, like we could have had this over a phone call, bro.
yeah, or you could have come to my office if, in fact, you wanted to pick my brain. I didn't have to pay $19 for parking in Century City.